starts now.
I recently visited a beautiful region in southwestern Ontario, Perth and Wellington counties. While on a drive, it came to mind that Kitchener, one of the region's biggest cities, hadn't always been called Kitchener. In fact, this place was originally called Berlin, owing its name to its significant German heritage. And while on that matter, the province in fact wasn't a province of Canada, but one of Great Britain, and used to be called Upper Canada. Changing the name Upper Canada to Ontario and Lower Canada to Quebec might be excused as one of the compromises of Confederation, despite what many learned was the formation of a new country with 4 founding provinces. Creating Canada was actually an annexation by the province of Canada of however many other British North American colonies they could absorb. The new big entity would still be called Canada, and therefore, to appease the newer members, Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, it seemed an obvious choice to designate new names. Losing the name Upper Canada in some ways is lamentable. The name had adorned the ribbon of settlement stretching from Sarnia to Cornwall from the late 1700s well into the late 1800s. But this editing seemed a small sacrifice for a bigger Canada that would eventually stretch the entire continent. Interestingly, there isn't a lot of documentation about who made the name change, how it was done, or the exact rationale for the new names. Much of it was penned by Macdonald himself, the co-premier of the province of Canada, and the man who would be the first Prime Minister of the new country of Canada. This wasn't a time characterized by large government bureaucracies or committees, or even democracy as we know it today. 1, 2, or 3 men sitting at their writing desks with copious amounts of evening spirits crafted the future and came up with the names. A tour through picturesque counties of Perth and Wellington quickly yielded a visual legacy of the former colony of Upper Canada, with the name appearing here and there on everything from schools, societies, and other assorted institutions. This was an editing of cultural history, but for the sake of growth and dominion. But the editing of Berlin is a different matter. As the First World War raged, the town's fathers decided a name change might be in order to alleviate anti-German sentiment, and so chose a name to honor an English lord, who ironically was killed when his ship hit a German mine just weeks after the vote to change the name. The place has been known as Kitchener ever since. This hasn't changed the German heritage of the place. Today, in fact, it hosts the world's second biggest Oktoberfest celebration. You'll find many regional Mennonites speaking their version of German, and some speaking English with a bit of an accent. Many other local street and village names in the vicinity retained their Germanness. In retrospect, it seems an odd choice to edit a name to appease popular sentiment. With all the underlying historical foundation and local folklore, the area ended up with a new name that had very little cultural or historic attachment. The current popularity of changing names to appease trendy sentiment, then, isn't all that new. Visit stephenchristiansen.ca for more episodes. This podcast is available on premium streaming platforms including Anchor, Radio Public, TuneIn, and Spotify. I'm Stephen Christiansen. Thanks for listening.
A production of Stephen Christensen. Podcast complete.